Do you think these protests have actually made Kyrie a sympathetic figure here?
No, I don't believe that. Let me say this. There were also protests going on in New York City yesterday where the Brooklyn Bridge was being blocked because to meet the requirements of that mandate handed down by the local government here in New York, if people like municipal workers, police officers, people like that, hospital workers, stuff like that, if they don't abide by the mandate, they'll lose their jobs. And so people, if they don't get themselves vaccinated, what have you, so people have really taken that position to heart. And and to be quite honest with you, even though I'm fully vaccinated, you are as well. There are people that bring concerns, and it's not just black folks, it's white folks, it's Hispanic folks. There are millions upon millions of people in this country that really, really have a big time problem with the government saying get vaccinated or else, because you're mandating that they trust an entity they don't believe warrants their trust and what have you. So we understand that to some degree, the trepidation, just the skepticism about things and what have you. But to me, that doesn't transfer to Kyrie because they're worried about losing their jobs and their livelihood. Kyrie is on social media telling you money ain't no issue. Don't worry about that with me. He's pocketed over $200 million in his career. He's got $35 million on the table. He can take half the season off and still end up with about 17 or 18 million this year. He's good. And so at the end of the day, they weren't making the argument to make him a sympathetic figure. They were using Kyrie's name to bring attention to their cause and what they're really fighting over, because obviously their lives are going to be profoundly affected in ways that Kyrie's is not. When it comes to basketball, here's the bottom line. We look at the Brooklyn Nets. We look at them thus far. We look at the way that James Harden is struggling. And I'm not to say that's going to stay the case because I believe in James Harden, but clearly they need Kyrie Irving. And when you anticipate what LA is going to do, when you anticipate what the Golden State Warriors are going to do, when you see the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat on the come up, Milwaukee Bucks the champion, Miami on the come up, it is clear that the Brooklyn Nets need Kyrie Irving. And if Kyrie elects not to come back, he may very well cost them the championship. So in that regard, I think the combination of everything that I just highlighted doesn't equate to him being a sympathetic figure in this.
I'll just leave it on the basketball court for the most part.
Yeah.
They certainly would use him. I mean, they need him because he's an important figure and a part of what they do. Can James Harden and KD move the needle enough to get past the teams that you talk about? I think so, because it's still early in the stages.
Right.
We 3 games in.
Right.
We're having this conversation about what the Nets are 3 games in. We all know if Kyrie was on the floor with them, they're a stronger basketball team, no question about it.
Right.
Now, whether or not they can go down all the way and get to the championship and win it all, we got to wait to see that. But they're certainly a better basketball team with Kyrie.
Right.
Because when you have a guy like James Harden who's struggling, now you got another guy you could go to. If KD starts to struggle, now you got James Harden and Kyrie to go to.
Right.
You got 2 of the 3. But when you only got 1 of the 3 that's performing well, you're not going to win.
Are they beating Milwaukee without Kyrie?
Listen.
That's the question for me.
Jalen doesn't believe so, and right now Jalen's looking very prophetic because Milwaukee, with the exception of their blowout loss to Miami, has looked very, very strong. Miami's on a come up. We can't ignore them, and I get all of that. But I want to transition, not for debate purposes, but I'm going to transition, and not just to Keyshawn, to you too as well, Molly, because I'm really interested in hearing y'all perspective on this. I want to know what y'all feel as it pertains to what, if anything at all, you believe Kyrie might owe the Brooklyn Nets. And by that, I mean this. He is the reason everybody's in Brooklyn, okay? And when you recognize what they look like without him, if that were to continue, then you have a situation where you're looking at the Brooklyn Nets and you're saying there's a chip on the line. When KD, Harden, and various other people, from what we hear, there's a whole bunch of NBA players, maybe not them specifically, but you hear surmise, there's a whole bunch of NBA players that were very, very reluctant to take the vaccine. They just understood that the NBA said, you don't take it, you don't get to be a part-time player. You take it, you in, you don't take it, you out.
Yeah.
So my question to y'all would be this. What, if anything, do you all believe he might owe the cats that he got to come to Brooklyn with him?
I don't, in this situation, I don't think he owes them anything.
Okay.
Because he ain't being paid, right? He's already been paid for the play in the past. That money's already
Yeah,
done.
is your question
He earned that
fiscally?
money.
Do you mean fiscally?
No,
No,
I'm
he
just
just
talking
mean
about. I'm talking about
getting people to come.
Yeah.
He basically essentially he got KD to come play for Brooklyn.
Yeah. No,
and
I
because
follow
of that, Griffin came. Because of that, the trade happened with James Harden.
Because of that, Steve Nash was hired as a
Nash
coach.
was hired. All of those
Right.
sort of things.
Of course.
So he became a key piece of what they're trying to put together. And so for me, I don't think he owes them anything because if he decides that that's not what he wants to do with his body, that's his own right. If they believe, okay, I'm putting it in my body because I believe something different, like me and you and Molly, I'm okay with that. I just don't want to. I don't want to put that type of pressure on him.
Here's where
in that
I don't
situation.
totally rock with you, Keyshawn, right? Okay, so say you have the chance to have a Super Bowl on the line, right? And you're going down to Tampa, right? And you're coming to Tampa, whatever, and that kind of thing. And then somebody decides to hold out because of the vaccine, and they're the real impetus for you heading down there, and you're the favorites and all of that. Are you really just going to be like, oh, I'm cool? I don't know if you'll continue to. You might forgive them, right? But I don't know. Are you going to deal with them the same way? Are you going to have the same type of relationship once they've broken
I may not have the same.
trust?
I may not. See, that wasn't the question, though. I may not have the same type of relationship.
That's where my mind goes.
I may not have the same type of relationship, but I certainly understand his beliefs. If that's what he, but I can't challenge somebody's beliefs, Stephen A. If that's what you believe, then I can't do it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.